Before Adam sinned, there was no religion. Not a single prayer, not a single altar, not one offering laid before God. The relationship between God and man was direct, unmediated, and purely spiritual. God walked with man, man walked with God. No rituals required. Then sin happened and everything changed. But here is what's interesting. God never responded to the fall of man by instituting religion. He didn't hand Adam a prayer manual or establish a sacrificial system. What he did was go looking for the man. Adam, where are you? God's instinct was rational, not religious. So where did religion come from? Fast forward to Genesis 4. Adam and Eve now have two sons, Cain, the farmer, and Abel, the shepherd. And then something happened that had never happened before in human history. In the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought an offering to the Lord of the fruit of the ground, and Abel also brought of the firstlings of his flock. Genesis 4, 3-4. Nobody asked them to do this. God made no such request. These two young men decided on their own to bring something to God, and in that moment, without fully realizing it, they invented religion. Now, most people read what happens next and assume God accepted Abel's offering and flat out rejected Cain's because of what they brought. One brought animals and the other brought vegetables. But that's a surface reading, and it misses the deeper point entirely. The word translated as regard in verse 4 comes from the Hebrew shahar, meaning to gaze, to look at, to pay attention. God wasn't issuing a formal acceptance or rejection like a temple priest reviewing a sacrifice checklist. He was looking, he was paying attention to something, not the gift, but the man behind the gift, because that's always been God's way. In 1 Samuel 16, when the prophet Samuel went to anoint a new king and saw Eliab, tall, strong, impressive, he thought, surely this is the one. But God told him plainly, man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. God has never been impressed by what you do. He has always been moved by who you are on the inside. So when God gazed at Cain and Abel, he wasn't reviewing their offerings, he was reading their hearts. What did he find? Hebrews 11:4 tells us that Abel offered in sacrifice by faith, and that faith was credited to him as righteousness. It wasn't the lamb that made Abel right with God. It was the faith that the lamb represented. The outward act was simply the overflow of an inward reality. Cain had no such reality, and God in his mercy told him so directly. If you do well, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Genesis 4, verse 7. Notice something remarkable here. God doesn't say your offering was wrong. He doesn't give Cain a corrected sacrifice formula. He bypasses the religious act entirely and goes straight to the heart. It's almost as if God is saying the offering was never the point. And this is actually the first time the word sin appears in the entire Bible. Not as an action, not as a verb, but as a person. Something crushing, waiting, desiring to control. Sin in scripture is not primarily what you do. It is a nature that lives in you. Religion can regulate your behavior, it can never change your nature. That's the problem. Now, here is where the argument gets undeniable. Before Cain and Abel brought those offerings, there was no envy between them, no rivalry, no murder in anyone's heart. But the moment they introduced a religious act, the moment they created a system of approaching God, they also created something they never intended, the basis for comparison. Who is more accepted? Whose offering pleased God? Whose standing is greater? The comparative dynamic, my religion versus your religion, my God versus your God, my practice versus your practice, is the engine behind most of the religious violence in human history, and it was born right here in Genesis 4. Cain didn't murder his brother because he was inherently a monster. He murdered his brother because religion gave him a scoreboard and he was losing. The sacrifice produced envy. The envy produced hatred. The hatred produced murder. No sacrifice, no comparison. No rejection, no envy, no murder. The religious act created the very condition for the evil. And what was the consequence? Curse, separation from God, a man driven out, wandering, cut off from the very presence he was trying to reach through his offering. From your face I shall be hidden. Cain's own words in Genesis 4:14. Religion promised him connection with God and delivered the exact opposite. Or you may say, true religion is sought to be connected with God, but got the direct opposite. Here is the key that unlocks everything, and Jesus himself gives it to us in John 4:24. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. There is a fundamental difference between worship and religion. Worship is spiritual. It is the posture of the heart towards God. Faith, love, surrender, belief. It requires no building, no ritual, no formula. It is an inward reality. Religion is the physical system humans construct to try to reach a spiritual God. Prayers you recite without meaning, offerings you bring without faith, services you attend without transformation. It is the outward form with no inward substance. Abel wasn't accepted because of his sacrifice. He was accepted because of his faith. The sacrifice was simply the physical expression of a heart that was already right. God saw through the ritual to the reality behind it. Cain had the ritual. He had no reality. He brought religion without worship, form without substance, and it destroyed him. From the very first act of religion recorded in human history, religion has carried with it the seed of its own destruction. Comparison, rejection, envy, hatred, violence, and ultimately separation from the very God it claimed to bring you closer to. God never asked for it. God never institutionalized it. And when it arrived, God's response was not to engage with the religious act, but to look past it entirely, straight into the heart of the man performing it. Your religion cannot save you. It never could. Not because God is unreachable, but because the road religion builds was never the road that leads to him. Jesus is the only way to the Father. It is by believing in his grace that we are saved. That is the only road that leads to God. That was why he said, I am the way. Not Christianity, but the true Jesus himself. He is the only one that guarantees salvation.